Welcome to Mr. Fright Nights, where nightmares come to life. If you love bone-chilling, immersive horror stories that feel real, stories that linger long after the last word, then you're in the right place. Before we begin, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more terrifying tales. Now, dim the lights, put on your headphones, and prepare yourself. Tonight's horror begins now. I don't remember a time when I craved silence this badly. It's 2:14 a.m., and my 5-year-old daughter Kelly just screamed so loud, my heart feels like it might punch through my ribcage. I bolt out of bed, snatch my phone off the nightstand, and sprint to Kelly's room, nearly tripping over the laundry basket in the hall. The floor creaks under my weight. This old house is practically made of squeaks. My name is Julia Redding, and I'm a cybersecurity analyst who works from home. By works from home, I mean I lock myself in my cluttered office most days, fighting the urge to snack on stale donuts while dissecting some corporate network breach. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, and it gives me time to be a mom, a role I both cherish and feel utterly unqualified for. Kelly is my entire world, and if there's one person I'd do anything to keep safe, it's her. I fling Kelly's bedroom door open. She's tangled in her covers, eyes wide, tears carving shiny tracks down her cheeks. She's hugging her stuffed unicorn, Mr. Sparkles, to her chest, like her life depends on it. "Mommy!" she cries, voice hitching. I heard her again, blink against the dark. The only illumination is the soft glow of her nightlight, shaped like a crescent moon. My eyes flick to the baby monitor on her dresser, an older model that connects to my phone via Wi-Fi. Lately, it's been picking up weird static, not the typical white noise or neighboring signals, but bursts of glitchy, distorted audio that almost sound like words. I keep telling myself it's just interference from some random device in the neighborhood, but Kelly insists it's the lady. I smooth her hair back, trying to quell my own pounding heart. "Shh, baby, it's okay. It's probably just those thunderstorms messing with the signal." She sniffles. She said my name. I heard her say, "Kelly, come play with me." I freeze, stomach twisting. Rationally, I should reassure her that no one is talking through the monitor. But there's something about the way her voice is shaking, the utter certainty in her eyes, that makes me hesitate. I grab the monitor receiver from the dresser. Its green light flickers. "Did it sound like a little girl?" I ask gently, trying to keep any tremor out of my voice. Kelly shakes her head. "No, it sounded old." An involuntary chill edges up my spine. Glancing at the readout on the device, I see the Wi-Fi signal is stable, no crazy spikes or disconnections. The app on my phone claims everything is normal, yet that eerie static has become more than background hiss over the past few nights. It almost resembles someone's breath, a whisper that drifts in and out. "Look, honey," I say, forcing a small smile. "I'll check it out, okay? We'll switch the frequency or something. Maybe I'll switch it off tonight." Kelly visibly relaxes a little. She wipes her face on Mr. Sparkles' neon pink fur and looks up at me. "Promise you won't let her in?" I press my lips together, refusing to let panic show. "I promise. Now try to get some rest. If you get scared, call me." Tucking her in, I hover for a moment, waiting for her eyes to drift closed. Once she's settled, I tiptoe out, leaving the door cracked. The hallway stretches before me, dim and yawning. I retreat into my bedroom, lean against the wall, and unlock my phone to open the baby monitor app. Sure enough, the audio feed crackles, with static. Every so often, there's a faint pop, like a microphone being tapped. I set the volume to 0, but keep the feed open. My breath is shallow, and my scalp prickles with unease. "Okay, Julia," I tell myself. You're a rational person. You do intrusion detection for a living. This is probably just an interference or some hack. The thought of an actual hack, a stranger tapping into my child's monitor, lights a fire in my gut. A wave of protective rage drowns out the anxiety. If there's someone messing with Kelly's sense of safety, I will find them. And I will ruin them. I place the phone on my nightstand, rummage through my closet for my laptop. My first step, check my home network logs. If someone's piggybacking or brute forcing their way into the device, I'll see a record of it. 20 minutes. Later, I'm sitting in bed with the computer perched on my knees, scanning for anomalies. The logs show no suspicious IP addresses. The firmware is up to date. A big, fat 0 for unusual traffic. The only connected devices are my phone, my laptop, the baby monitor, and the smart home hub. I let out a breath of frustration. This has to be some fluke. Yet the hairs on my arms remain raised. I stare at the phone screen. My reflection in the black background looks pale and tense. Suddenly the audio spikes. Static hisses up in a short burst. I crank the volume just a bit. My heart rate skyrockets. It almost sounds like a woman's voice, warbling and distant. Could it be a neighbor's baby monitor on the same frequency? But these days, everything is digital. Crosstalk is less likely. Another pop. Then silence. I grit my teeth. What the hell? I want to throw the damn monitor out the window. But that's not a logical solution. Kelly needs reassurance. I need to maintain a stable routine. I close the app, switch off the device from the master controls, and slam the laptop shut. It's almost 3 a.m., and I need sleep if I'm going to function tomorrow. Before I drift off, I can't help but think, what if Kelly's right? What if somebody is trying to talk to her? I clamp my eyes shut and mentally run through the next days. Schedule: morning meeting, bug fix for a client, then maybe a store run to buy a better encrypted baby monitor. One that no stranger could hack, right? But as I doze off, I imagine the static forming words. Not my name, not Kelly's, but something older, darker. I tell myself it's just my overworked imagination. Yet a cold knot settles in my stomach, and it feels a lot like fear. Morning arrives far too soon. My alarm blasts a grating digital jingle at 7 a.m., but Kelly's already awake, sitting by the living room window, hugging Mr. Sparkles. She's eerily quiet, dark circles beneath her eyes. "Mommy," she says softly when I walk in. "She's still here." I pause, heart twisting. How do I respond to that without dismissing her or feeding into her fear? I pull her onto my lap and try to rub some warmth into her stiff little shoulders. "Hey, the baby monitor was turned off. Nothing can come through now, right?" She nods, but doesn't look convinced. Her eyes flick to the hallway leading to her room. "I heard her before you woke up." A lump rises in my throat. I nearly say, "That's impossible," but I swallow it. Kids pick up on a lot more than we give them credit for. If Kelly says she heard something, she must believe it. I plaster on a smile. "You know what we're going to do?" "I'm going to buy a brand new monitor. One that's super secure. This old one's going in the trash. Deal?" She brightens a little. "Yeah, a new one with no scary voices." "Exactly." I whip up a quick breakfast of scrambled eggs, slightly burned because I'm no culinary genius, and we scarf them down. Then I log into my work portal. Thank God my flexible schedule allows me to skip out midday if needed. I have a few hours of code audits to do, but after that, Kelly and I can go shopping. But as I try to focus on lines of script, my mind keeps drifting back to the night's events. Did I imagine that voice? Could someone be using a weird device to mess with us? I can't concentrate. I close my eyes, recalling the faint whisper on the monitor. My phone vibrates. A Slack notification from my coworker, Grant. Hey, Julia. Found an odd traffic spike from a client server. Need your eyes on it. I type back a quick reply. On it. Work usually distracts me, but not this time. My attention is shot. I keep checking on Kelly, who's quietly coloring at the kitchen table. She seems calmer now, but every so often she cocks her head like she hears something. When noon rolls around, we head to the electronics store. The place is a neon-lit maze, hawking everything from gaming consoles to the latest smartphones. We navigate to the baby monitor section. Dozens of boxes line the shelves, promising crystal clear HD video, two-way communication, motion sensors. I settle on a well-reviewed model that boasts end-to-end encryption. The price tag makes me flinch. My wallet's about to take a hit, but if it means Kelly can sleep without nightmares, it's worth every penny. Kelly clings to my arm as we pay. She keeps glancing over her shoulder at nothing in particular, chewing on her lip. I stroke her hair. All good, baby? She nods, but says in a hushed tone, I feel like someone's watching us. A chill worms its way down my spine. It's probably just a busy store, I say, looking around at the bustling customers. Nothing stands out, except for a woman who's momentarily staring at us from the phone case's aisle. She's older, maybe mid-60s, with cropped gray hair. As soon as I meet her gaze, she darts her eyes away. My pulse quickens. I hurriedly thank the cashier and guide Kelly outside to the car. The woman doesn't follow. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Still, it's not a feeling I can shake off easily. We get home, and after lunch, I set up the new monitor in Kelly's room. She watches, hugging Mr. Sparkles, while I download the dedicated app and configure all the security features: password protection, encrypted video feed, no external network access. My job has taught me to be thorough. All right, I announce, triple-checking the device's green LED. Secure as Fort Knox, kiddo. Let's see anyone hack this. She cracks a grin, but her eyes still hold worry. It won't be like the old one, right? She won't come through. My heart twists at the fear in her voice. Nope, I say, with more confidence than I feel. No one's messing with this, and if they try, I'll know. I promise. That night, we go through our usual bedtime routine. Brush teeth, pajamas, a quick story. She's half asleep by 9 p.m. I tiptoe out and leave the new monitor on, volume set to a comfortable level. Back in my room, I open the app on my phone. Crisp video, audio reading a gentle hush. Perfect. I settle into bed, feeling a surge of relief. Finally, I can get some rest, right? It's around 11:30 p.m. when the static returns. First, a small pop, like distant thunder. I jolt awake, phone slipping from my hand. The baby monitor app vibrates with a notification, motion detected. My heart leaps. I open the feed. The video shows Kelly in bed, motionless. She's turned on her side, arms curled around Mr. Sparkles. The room is dark except for her moon nightlight. The camera is supposed to detect if she's moving, but she's not. Yet the app triggered. A faint hiss crackles through the speaker. It's not the smooth white noise of an encrypted device. It's broken, glitchy. My lungs clamp. I tap my phone repeatedly, checking the encryption status. Everything is green. The system shouldn't produce random static. Ha! I hear it. A rasp of breath. High and thin, like someone exhaling right into the microphone. Then silence. Sweat beads on my forehead. My hands tremble as I zoom the camera in. The corners of Kelly's room are dark, but no one is there. Could this still be radio interference? Could some twisted freak have found a new exploit? My gut screams that something else is at work. Something that defies every line of code and logic I cling to. Then it happens again. A crackle, a subtle shift of static. It almost forms words. A phrase. I can't make it out, but it sounds like a whisper, so soft it's nearly inaudible. My adrenaline spikes, and I jump out of bed, phone in hand. Kelly's voice through the monitor. "Mommy?" She's awake. Her eyes flick open, and she looks directly at the camera. "Mommy, can you hear me?" I sprint for her room, pounding down the hallway. I half expect to see a dark figure looming over her. But the moment I burst in, Kelly's alone. She's sitting up, breathing fast. "Did you hear it?" she asks, face pale. She said, "Why won't you come play with me?" My pulses, a drumbeat in my ears. I stand there, phone clenched in my hand, speechless. Because I know the encryption is locked down. No hacking, no crosstalk. And yet that whisper on the monitor didn't sound human. Or if it was human, it was someone who should have no way of speaking through a sealed frequency. Tightening my hold on Kelly, I feel her trembling, her breath shaking against my chest. I should be telling her, "It's okay," but the words die in my throat. I'm not convinced it's okay at all. The hush that follows is so loud, I can practically hear my own frantic heartbeat. And somewhere in the background, from the new monitor on Kelly's dresser, a faint hiss continues, like an exhale that refuses to fade. I don't sleep a wink. Who could, after that? I spend the rest of the night sitting in Kelly's room with the lights on, scanning every corner for signs of an intruder. Eventually, Kelly dozes off in her bed, exhaustion finally winning. I remain, on the edge of the mattress, laptop open, combing through the device logs in real time. No anomalies, no outside IP addresses, no unrecognized MAC addresses. The encryption handshake is secure. In theory, no one could intercept or inject audio, yet the hissing continues. Every few minutes it ebbs and flows, morphing into faint murmurs I can't quite decode. It's as if it's just beyond the threshold of understanding, like words that vanish the moment you focus on them. At 5 a.m., my eyes burn, my back aches, and I've found nothing to explain this freaky phenomenon. Kelly stirs, half opening, her eyes. "Mommy?" she mumbles, voice raspy with sleep. I manage a hoarse reply. "Hey, sweetie. It's early. Go back to bed, okay?" She seems to remember the night before and her face crumples. Did she come back? Part of me wants to pretend I don't know what she's talking about. But I can't lie. I heard something, I admit. But it's gone now. She nods. Somehow, hearing me confirm it doesn't scare her more. Maybe it reassures her that I believe her. She pushes her face against my arm, and after a few minutes, her breathing evens out in sleep. Once she's settled, I tiptoe to the living room, phone in hand, determined to shut the monitor down. Enough is enough. I open the app, tap the power icon. The feed goes dark. The device is officially offline. I'm done playing detective. If Kelly wants me, she can just call me from her bed. The fancy baby monitor can rot in the closet for all I care. I collapse onto the couch, close my eyes, and drift into a restless doze. Sometime later, dawn light seeps through the curtains, and I jolt awake. My phone is buzzing in my hand. It's a text from my boss, Karina. Need you to finalize that intrusion report by 10 a.m. Right. Work. The normal world is still spinning, blissfully unaware of my personal horror show. Kelly pads into the living room, hair a bird's nest, eyes puffy from interrupted sleep. She slumps beside me, hugging Mr. Sparkles, and flicks on cartoons. I can barely muster the energy to form a sentence. My phone's battery is nearly dead. I notice with a spike of dread that the baby monitor app is still open in the background, yet I was certain I shut everything down. My finger hovers over the screen to close it. Then, on impulse, I check the device status. Offline. Good. The why. Paranoid part of me wonders if it could have spontaneously reconnected, but the screen shows no sign of that. Shaking my head, I close the app. Enough. Time to face the real day. Get dressed, feed Kelly, try to salvage my career. Maybe I'll just let her watch cartoons in my office while I finish up that intrusion. Report. I'll keep an eye on her in person. No monitors required. Breakfast is a tense affair, but we manage. She munches her cereal in silence. I keep glancing at the new baby monitor on the counter. A $250 paperweight, apparently. Eventually, I lock myself in my office, letting Kelly curl up on the old beanbag chair behind me with a coloring book and a YouTube cartoon playing on my second monitor. At least she's in my line of sight. I can't risk letting her out of my reach today. My nerves can't handle it. My laptop hums as I pull up the intrusion report. For a blissful half hour, I'm able to focus. The rhythms of scanning code and logs wrap me in a familiar sense of control. I can do something about malicious scripts. I can't do a damn thing about a ghostly voice on a baby monitor. Kelly's voice behind me breaks my concentration. "Mommy, I'm thirsty." I turn, half smiling. "Okay, let's get you some juice." We go to the kitchen. The air feels charged, a subtle static that makes the hairs on my arms lift. My phone, sitting on the counter, has lit up. The baby monitor app's icon is open again, unprompted. My blood runs cold. I'm positive I closed it out. I pick it up, hands shaking. The app displays a frozen snapshot of Kelly's room, timestamped just now. But the device is unplugged, still lying where I left it, offline. How is it even sending a feed? I exit the app, forcibly. I almost uninstall it, but part of me wants to keep it in case I need evidence. My mind cycles through possibilities. Could my phone be compromised? Some new malware specifically targeting baby monitor apps? I vow to do a factory reset later. Right now, I need to keep Kelly calm. Juice, normalcy, routine. She sips her glass, oblivious to my racing thoughts. Then the doorbell rings. We freeze. Nobody visits unannounced on a weekday morning, and I'm not expecting any deliveries. My heart leaps to my throat. Kelly flinches, setting her juice down. "Mommy," she whispers. I push aside the suffocating dread and walk to the front door. Peering through the peephole, I spot a woman in a cable-knit sweater, dark hair pulled into a bun. She looks about my age, her posture hesitant, like she's not entirely sure she wants to be here. I open the door a crack, forcing a polite smile. "Yes?" She fidgets, eyes darting past me into the house. Hi. Are you Julia Redding?" My grip on the door tightens. "That's me. Do we know each other?" She wets her lips, looking anxious. "My name is Cheryl. I live 2 streets over. I found your address in the neighborhood directory. Sorry for barging in, but I need to ask you about something weird." My mind goes into overdrive. "I'm listening." She lowers her voice. "I heard from another neighbor that you're a cybersecurity expert, and I've been having some trouble with my baby monitor. It's an older model, but recently I've heard strange voices. A woman's voice." My blood runs cold. Kelly stands behind me, clutching my shirt. "You heard it too?" I say, voice barely above a whisper. Cheryl nods, eyes wide. "It's terrifying. My son Toby refuses to sleep in his room. I tried getting a new monitor last month, but it kept happening. Then I heard you were looking for a new one too, so I thought maybe you were experiencing something similar." My pulse hammers. So I'm not the only one. "Hang on," I say, stepping back. "Come in." We gather in the living room. Kelly clings to me, but she's curious too. Cheryl fidgets with her sweater cuffs. "At first, I figured it was just crosstalk," she says. "But the voice says Toby's name. It sometimes calls for me too, saying, 'Cheryl, help me.' It's so real, but no one else in my house hears it. Just Toby and me." I exchange a glance with Kelly, who looks unnerved. Last night, the voice told Kelly to come play, I admit. Cheryl pales. You have no idea how relieved I am to know I'm not going. Crazy, but it's also terrifying. Why us? My mind reels. 2 families, different devices, same phenomenon. A malicious hacker? Some bizarre local frequency anomaly? Or something far more sinister? Before I can respond, my phone vibrates. Another push notification from the offline baby monitor. My breath catches in my throat. I read it. Come here. My heart pounds so loud I can barely process the letters on the screen. Cheryl sees my face go white. What happened? Show her my phone, hand trembling. The message is plain as day, like a text from the device. But how? Her eyes widen in horror. Kelly's voice trembles. Mommy, it's her. I meet Cheryl's gaze, panic swirling in my chest. I realize with icy clarity that our problem is bigger than a simple hack. Something is speaking to our children, to us, through devices that should be secure or unplugged entirely, and I have no clue how to fight it. We huddle in the kitchen, the fear palpable. Cheryl is on the verge of tears, her eyes flicking to the corners of the room like she expects to see an intruder hiding there. Kelly stands beside me, gripping my hand so tightly my knuckles ache. Set my phone down on the counter. Let me try something, I say, my voice steady despite the quake in my chest. I pick up the baby monitor from Kelly's room. Sure enough, the power cord is disconnected, the battery pack removed. It's as dead as a doorstop, yet the app is still spitting out messages. I aim my phone's camera at the device and record a quick video, narrating the details out loud, so I'll have proof in case I need it. Cheryl watches, hugging herself. Could it be a virus on your phone that's simulating the app? It's possible, I reply. But that wouldn't explain why your device is acting up too. We brainstorm for a few minutes, but our ideas all revolve around mundane explanations. The truth is, I've never seen a hack that works on unpowered hardware. It defies logic. A gnawing sense of dread suggests we're dealing with something that transcends conventional tech. When I catch Cheryl eyeing the door, ready to bolt, I ask her the question that's been on my mind since she arrived. When did this start for you? She exhales shakily. About a month ago. Toby started waking up in the middle of the night, screaming that someone was whispering in his monitor. I assumed it was nightmares. But then I heard it, my name in this crackly, rasping voice. Like a badly tuned radio. It asked me to help. I spent hours fiddling with my router, updating firmware. No luck. Finally, I replaced the monitor. The problem disappeared for a week, then came back worse. I started hearing it even when the monitor was off. A chill crawls up my spine. That timeline lines up with when Kelly first complained about faint whispers. Kelly and I had the older monitor for years with no problems, I say slowly. Then about 4 weeks ago, we started hearing random static. It's gotten more persistent ever since. Cheryl presses a trembling hand to her mouth. I'm terrified for Toby. He's only 3, and I don't know if he understands enough to be scared, or if he's curious about that voice. Either way, I can't sleep, can't function. It's turning me into a nervous wreck. My phone pings again. I'm half afraid to look. But I do. New message. Are you there? My throat constricts. I muster the last shred of courage I have and tap the screen to open the baby monitor feed, expecting static or some nightmarish face. Instead, the screen remains black, an icon spinning as if trying to connect to a non-existent device. Kelly tugs at my sleeve. Mommy, make it stop, she pleads. I hold her close. I'm trying, sweetie. Cheryl touches my arm. What do we do? I think fast. My training has always been about methodical steps. Identify the breach, isolate it, remove the threat. So, let's try that approach. First, I'll factory reset my phone. I say. Wipe everything. Reinstall only safe apps. If it's a virus or malware, that should wipe it out. Cheryl's face brightens, if only slightly. Then I can do the same. We get to work. I back up only my essential files. Photos of Kelly, some work docs, making sure everything is scanned. Then I perform a full factory reset. It takes about 15 minutes. Cheryl paces the kitchen the entire time, occasionally glancing at the window. Kelly tries to calm herself by drawing in her sketchbook, but I see how tightly she grips the pencil, how her shoulders are hunched in tension. Finally, the reset completes. I create a fresh user account, skipping any data restoration that's not crucial. My phone is now a blank slate. I hold my breath, waiting for the phantom messages to vanish. But I can't ignore the knot in my stomach, a dread whispering that this might not be over. Cheryl asks, "Now what?" "Now," I say, my voice echoing with forced confidence. "We see if anything else happens. If it does, then we know it's not the phone." As if on cue, my phone pings. My heart nearly stops. I snatch it up, expecting more terrifying text from the unknown, but it's just a standard greeting from the system, prompting me to complete initial setup steps. Relief floods me. It's not a message from that voice. "Maybe we killed the glitch." Cheryl beams cautiously. "That's a good sign, right?" Before I can answer, my phone's home screen flickers. The baby monitor app icon reappears, the very one I never reinstalled. My breath catches like I've swallowed shards of ice. The phone vibrates once, twice. Another push notification slides down the screen. "Don't ignore me," Cheryl screams. Kelly gasps, dropping her pencil. My vision tunnels. This can't be real. A full wipe should have erased everything. The app opens on its own. The black screen stares back, a spinning icon. Then an ear-splitting shriek of static bursts from the speaker. I lunge for the volume buttons, turning them down. But the sound persists, crackling with unholy intensity. Kelly clamps her hands over her ears, tears in her eyes. Cheryl backs away, her face ashen. I scramble to turn off the phone, but even the power button is unresponsive. The screen glows, and amidst the static, I hear something else. A ragged voice, low and resonant, forming a single word. "Kelly." That's enough for me. I drop the phone. It hits the tile floor with a dull thud, the screen flickering out. The static cuts off. A wave of terror and nausea ripples through me. Cheryl seems on the verge of hyperventilating. Kelly is openly crying. I crouch and pull her into a tight hug, trying to steady my breathing. Over her trembling shoulder, I see the phone lying face down on the floor. A hairline crack runs across the screen. Even so, I swear I can hear faint static leaking out. "I can't do this," Cheryl says, voice cracking. "I have to go check on Toby. He's with my sister right now, but I need to see him. Make sure he's safe." I nod, half in shock. "Keep your monitor off and your phone off," I say. "I don't know what's happening, but that might at least help." She nods, eyes glistening with tears. Then she rushes out, leaving me and Kelly alone in the house, paralyzed by the knowledge that destroying my phone or monitor might not even stop this. Kelly sniffles. "Mommy, can we leave?" Her question hits me like a punch. Where would we go? A hotel? A friend's place? What if this phenomenon follows us wherever we go? I don't have an answer. So I just hold her tight, feeling her little heart pound against me. And I whisper, "I'll protect you. I promise." But deep down, I'm not sure how. I'm sitting in my office chair, staring at a jumbled mess of code on my computer screen. My phone is turned off, battery removed, lying cold and lifeless on the desk. Kelly is on the couch in the living room, reading a picture book. I put on a brave face for her. But inside, I'm unraveling. I can't focus on work, but I pretend to, hoping the routine might anchor me. The images from earlier replay in my mind. The baby monitor app resurrecting itself after a factory reset, the voice twisting through the static, calling out to Kelly. A memory resurfaces. A few nights ago, I found Kelly talking softly to her, reflection in the dark TV screen. She claimed she heard someone say her name. I'd chalked it up to a child's imagination. Now, I'm not so sure. I decide to do something radical, physically dismantle the baby monitor. If there's some advanced hacking wizardry at play, maybe removing the internal components can block its transmission. It's a long shot, but at this point, I'm desperate for any sense of control. I gather a small screwdriver set from the kitchen drawer. Kelly peeks her head around the corner. "What are you doing, Mommy?" "I'm going to open up the old monitor," I say, forcing a reassuring smile. "Remember that lady that came from it? I'm going to break the machine so she can't talk to you anymore, okay?" Kelly hesitates, then nods. "Okay." She clutches Mr. Sparkles for comfort and returns to the living room. I set the device on the table and pry it open, unscrewing the back panel. The circuit board is small, sporting a few chips, a Wi-Fi module, microphone input. Nothing unusual. I carefully disconnect the mic, the speaker, and the battery terminals. Once I'm done, it's essentially a husk of plastic and metal. Exhaling shakily, I toss the pieces into a Ziploc bag. It feels oddly cathartic, like I've physically torn out the source of our nightmares. But I know better. The phenomenon still hijacked my phone, even with this monitor unplugged. Still, at least it's one less open door. I take the bag to the garage and throw it in the garbage bin. On my way back, I hear a light knock at the front door. My pulse spikes. Is Cheryl back? Or someone else? A neighbor? A sudden wave of paranoia hits me. Could the voice on the monitor be connected to an actual person lurking outside? My palms slick with sweat. I open the front door, keeping the chain latched. A woman in a utility uniform stands on the stoop, mid-30s, hair in a ponytail, holding a clipboard. "Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm from the electric company. We're doing routine meter checks. May I take a quick look at yours?" The normalcy of her request brings a rush of relief. Sure, it's around the side of the house," I mumble, unlatching the door. She smiles politely and heads around the corner. I watch her go, half expecting something bizarre to happen. But she just crouches near the meter, jots notes on her clipboard, and leaves. My heartbeat gradually settles. Maybe life can still have mundane moments after all. I close the door and lean against it, letting out a trembling breath. Kelly calls from the living room. "Who was that?" "Electric company," I say, re-entering the room. "Just checking the meter." Kelly's brow furrows. "So it wasn't her?" "No, sweetie. Not this time." I ruffle her hair. "We're okay." She nods, but fear lingers in her eyes. I sink onto the couch next to her, letting the silence fill the space between us. Outside, the afternoon sun filters through the blinds, dust motes dancing in the light. For a moment, we just breathe. An hour drags by. I attempt to read Kelly a story, stumbling over words as my mind wanders. Eventually, I stand up and say, "Let's go out for a bit. We could use fresh air. Maybe the park? We'll stay in a public space." Kelly's face brightens slightly. "Yeah, okay." I hustle us out the door, almost forgetting to lock up in my rush. We drive to a nearby park, a sprawling green space with a playground full of laughing children. The sight of people going about their day, normal and carefree, soothes me. We find a bench near the swings. Kelly runs off to climb the monkey bars, and I settle in, scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. The breeze is soft, the sun warm. For a split second, the tension in my chest loosens. Then my eyes catch a glimpse of a figure across the park. An older woman in a black coat, standing unnaturally still by the trees. Her gaze, though from this distance I can't see it clearly, seems locked onto Kelly. A surge of protectiveness flares in me. I stand, heart racing, and stride toward Kelly. The woman abruptly turns and walks away, disappearing into a cluster of trees. I debate chasing her, but I can't leave Kelly alone. By the time I scoop her off the monkey bars and point to where the woman was, she's gone. Kelly tugs my sleeve. What's wrong? I force a smile. Probably nothing. I just didn't want you wandering too far. She frowns but nods. I decide we've had enough park time. The entire drive home, I can't shake the sense that we're being followed. I check my rearview mirror obsessively. Cars pass normally, no suspicious tails. Still, my hands remain locked on the wheel, knuckles white. Back home, I make Kelly a quick dinner, boxed mac and cheese, hardly gourmet but all I can manage. We eat in tense silence, exchanging uncertain glances. When bedtime comes, Kelly begs to sleep in my room. Usually, I'd say no, but tonight, I can't blame her. I set up a sleeping bag on the floor and leave all the lights on. The darkness feels menacing, like it's waiting to swallow us. We settle in, the two of us reading a fairy tale together. I wonder if I'll ever be able to read to her without scanning the shadows for an unseen presence. Eventually, Kelly nods off. I lie awake, my eyes glued to the overhead light. The phone and baby monitor remain lifeless in the kitchen drawer, no chance to ring or beep. But the quiet is oppressive. I almost expect to hear static emanating from the walls themselves. My rational mind wants a solution. Call the police, a priest, an exorcist. I do none of those things. Why? Because I can't even articulate what's happening, let alone prove it. Tech-savvy mother claims an unplugged baby monitor is haunting her. Yeah, that'll go great on a police report. I drift in and out of a restless half-sleep, haunted by fleeting images. The old woman in the park, a twisted silhouette in the corner of Kelly's room, the baby monitor glowing with malevolent energy. Sometime after midnight, I swear I hear static once more. But when I sit up, it's silent. No sign of the voice. No sign of peace either. Cheryl calls me around mid-morning the next day, her voice trembling over the line. I've powered my phone back on without the SIM card, only to field her call using Wi-Fi on my laptop. Paranoid? Maybe, but I'm done taking chances. Julia, please, she says the second I answer. I need help. It's gotten so much worse. My chest tightens. Kelly sits on the couch, hugging Mr. Sparkles, anxiously watching me. I switch the call to speaker so I can keep my eyes on her. What happened? I ask. Cheryl's breath hitches. Toby woke up screaming at dawn. He said a lady was standing by his crib telling him to go outside. When I ran into his room, the baby monitor lit up. Even though it was unplugged, battery out, everything, it displayed text on the screen. Open the door, Toby. I freaked out. I tried smashing it with a hammer, but it stayed on, flickering that same text until it finally died. A chill snakes up my spine. The baby monitor physically smashed yet still functioning. That's the same brand of impossible I've been wrestling with. Has anything else happened? She pauses, and I can almost hear her shudder. Yes. My phone kept showing me pictures of Toby sleeping. Photos I never took. They vanished when I tried to screenshot them, like they were never there. I'm so scared I can barely think straight. I shut my eyes, dread pulsing. Where are you now? At my sister's apartment, she says. I'm keeping Toby here, away from our house. I can't go back there alone. I feel like something's waiting. I mull that over, rubbing my forehead. If this thing can mess with phones and monitors, I'm not sure a change of location will help. The memory of seeing that older woman in the park flits across my mind. But staying together might be safer. Maybe we should meet, compare notes, see if we can figure out a pattern. Cheryl inhales shakily. Okay, let's do that. I'll come by your place. I'm not ready to step foot in mine. She hangs up, leaving me with a hollow feeling in my gut. Kelly looks up at me with big eyes. Is Toby okay? He's fine, I say, forcing calm. We're just going to help his mom, all right? She doesn't look convinced, but she nods. I find myself scanning the corners of the room, half expecting the baby monitor to reassemble itself from the trash and float through the doorway. The house is quiet, the air strangely heavy. An hour later, Cheryl arrives, Toby in tow. He's a little boy with large brown eyes, clinging to his mother's pant leg. My house feels suffocating with tension, but I do my best to make them comfortable, offer coffee, water, juice for the kids. The four of us gather around the kitchen table like conspirators in some clandestine meeting. Toby spots Kelly's stuffed unicorn and seems envious, so Kelly shyly offers Mr. Sparkles to him. He nestles it under his arm, a flicker of relief on his face. There's a moment of warmth in the gloom. So, Cheryl starts, eyes puffy like she's been crying. What's your theory? Is this some psycho? A hacker with high-tech gear? I shift uncomfortably. I've been a cybersecurity analyst for nearly a decade. I've seen advanced persistent threats, state-level hacking, you name it. But I've never encountered anything that can operate a device with no power source. Cheryl's lips tremble. So you're saying it's not possible logically? Not by the laws of engineering, I say, swallowing hard. And yet it's happening. She massages her temples. I was afraid you'd say that. Kelly pipes up, voice quavering. Mommy, the lady said she wants me to come play. She said it again last night. A hush falls over us, Toby's eyes filling with tears. Cheryl turns to Toby, rubbing his back. Did she say the same thing? To you, honey. He nods, hugging Mr. Sparkles tighter. She said to open the door. She sounded like a mean grandma. His lower lip wobbles, and he hides his face in the unicorn's mane. For a moment, maternal protectiveness unites Cheryl and me in silent outrage. Whatever this force is, it's targeting our kids. I grit my teeth. We need to see if there's some pattern. The first sign was static, then direct messages. Now the voice tries to lure them. Next step, actually taking them. Cheryl's eyes brim with tears again. We can't let that happen. I nod, adrenaline surging. Let's gather everything we have. Devices, logs, any weird photos, compare them. Maybe we can find a clue. We set up our laptops side by side, phones powered off or battery removed. The kids color quietly at the table, subdued, but at least feeling safer together. The smell of stale coffee fills the kitchen as we spend the afternoon combing through old text logs, screenshots, anything suspicious. We find no direct overlap. Different device brands, different times. No single IP address. Yet the phenomenon is identical. A disembodied female voice or text targeting. Our kids, ignoring standard encryption or power states. If a mortal hacker is behind this, they have to be some sort of ghost in the machine. Cheryl taps her laptop screen. Check this out, she says, voice tense. She shows me a partial screenshot, one of the phantom photos of Toby sleeping. In the dark corner of the frame, faint as a shadow, there's the silhouette of a woman's face. I squint. It's indistinct, but I can make out sunken cheeks, hollow eyes. She almost looks older than the woman I saw at the park. But maybe that's just the angle. My stomach drops. Doesn't look like you or any family member? She shakes her head vehemently. No. Never seen her in my life. A chill seeps through my veins. I saw someone in the park yesterday staring at Kelly. I only got a glimpse, but she felt wrong. Could be the same person? Cheryl's gaze flickers. So it's not just a digital thing. She's physically stalking us too? I exhale slowly. Maybe. Or it's something wearing a human form. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Our conversation continues in low, urgent tones, while the kids whisper and color. We vow to keep Toby and Kelly in sight at all times and to continue investigating. By evening, we decide to have a sleepover here. A united front. Less chance of one parent dozing off while the other keeps watch. I order pizza, though none of us have much appetite. The kids manage a slice each. Cheryl picks at hers, expression vacant. I pretend to eat, but dread gnaws at me more than hunger. Eventually, the sun sets, painting the sky a bruised purple. We station ourselves in the living room, the kids in, sleeping bags on the couch while we keep a silent vigil. No phone screens, no baby monitors, no open invitation for whatever lurks in the static. The hours tick by. Midnight creeps closer. Every squeak of the floor, every rustle of the trees outside, makes me twitch, but nothing abnormal happens. Maybe we'll have one quiet night. Maybe the presence is gone. Then a faint hiss rolls through the room, like a radio switching on. Cheryl and I exchange terrified glances. The kids are wide awake, eyes huge. The overhead light flickers once, twice, then goes out. Darkness swallows. Us! Kelly screams. Toby whimpers. My heart thunders in my ears. Cheryl, I rasp. Flashlight in the hallway drawer. She scrambles to find it, nearly tripping over the coffee table. I scoop Kelly into my arms, Toby clinging to Cheryl. Then, in the blackness, I hear it. That ragged breath. The same one I heard through the monitor. Ksh. The static breath intensifies, as if it's in the very air around us. A woman's raspy whisper weaves through the hiss. Come. Open the door. Let me in. I choke back a scream, fumbling for the flashlight. Cheryl's trembling hands finally click it on, illuminating the living room in a harsh beam. The overhead light is still dead. No sign of an intruder physically in the room, but the hiss remains, a swirling, invisible presence. Toby starts to sob. Kelly buries her face in my shoulder. I force myself to be brave. Get back, I shout, my voice cracking. Leave us alone. A harsh laugh echoes through the static, chilling my blood. Then the hiss fades, like a radio being tuned away. The overhead light flickers back on, revealing 4 terrified faces. Silence envelops us. Cheryl's panting. My own breath comes in ragged gasps. We stare at each other, confirming we all heard the same thing. This is no glitch, no software bug. We're not safe anywhere. It's nearing 1 a.m., and none of us can relax. The kids finally drift off, exhaustion overwhelming terror. But Cheryl and I remain huddled at the kitchen table, the bright overhead lights blazing. That was definitely her, Cheryl murmurs, voice taut. The same voice that came through my monitor. How was she speaking in the middle of the air? I wish I had an answer. For an hour, we sit in tense silence, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator and our own uneven breathing. I brew pot after pot of coffee to keep us awake. Eventually, something in me snaps. I can't live this way, waiting for the next unnerving event. Let's try searching online, I say, though I feel silly. Maybe there's some local phenomenon people have reported, something about weird signals or... I don't know. Cheryl grimaces. Worth a shot. I power on my laptop in safe mode, paranoid about more digital intrusions. We navigate to a web browser, searching mysterious baby monitor voices. We get a flood of generic posts about interference, hacking, or creepy horror stories. None of it matches our experiences exactly. After an hour of fruitless scanning, Cheryl stumbles upon a local forum thread, strange transmissions in the Crescent Springs area. Bingo. We click it, and a half-dozen posts appear. User 1. Heard faint voices over my Bluetooth speaker at 3 a.m. Thought I was losing it. User 2. My security camera showed text overlays that said, "Help me. Did some research. No known." Exploit. User 3. This phenomenon has a name. The murmur. People say it started decades ago, targeting families with kids. Chills break out on my arms. I read every post, heart pounding. No one has solid evidence. It's all anecdotal. But the similarities are eerie. The thread's last reply is from 6 months ago. If you hear the murmur, turn off your devices. Do not respond. Never let it know your child's name. Too late. A lump forms in my throat. Cheryl looks like she might faint. So this is a known local thing? Does that mean we can't outrun it if we move somewhere else? I click on the user's profile that posted the warning. Account deleted. Any contact info? Nothing. A dead end. My stomach churns. We keep digging until we find scattered references to a bizarre old legend. A reclusive woman who lost her entire family in a house fire near Crescent Springs. The rumor goes that she roamed the region in grief, trying to lure children away to replace those she lost. Over time, the tale twisted into modern urban legend. Some say her spirit roams the airwaves. Others claim it's a mass delusion or an electromagnetic anomaly. I exhale, pushing my laptop away. I don't believe in ghosts, but I can't deny something is at play, and this legend lines up with what we're experiencing. Cheryl rubs her arms. So what if we're dealing with an echo of that tragedy? She wants kids. That lines up with Toby's experience, with Kelly's nightmares. My mind whirs. We still don't have proof it's a spirit in the traditional sense. Could be a cryptic broadcast. But whatever it is, we're clearly not alone. And ignoring it hasn't worked. It's escalating. I glance at the sleeping kids, anxiety gnawing at me. So how do we stop it? Are we supposed to do some supernatural ritual? Or is that ridiculous? Cheryl grimaces. I'd try anything at this point, but none of these forum posts mention a permanent fix. Some people say it vanished on its own after weeks. Others, well, some of their stories just stop. We share, a weighted silence, imagining the worst. Parents who disappeared, or whose children were taken. My entire body tenses with dread. Suddenly, Toby stirs on the couch, whimpering. Kelly shifts as well, as though sharing the same bad dream. Cheryl and I rush over. Toby's eyelids flutter, tears leaking out. He mumbles, "Door, open the door." I gently shake his shoulder. "Hey, Toby, it's okay. You're safe." Cheryl kneels, voice shaky. "Sweetie, you're dreaming. Wake up." Toby's eyes open, glassy and distant. "She's outside. She said to open the door." He points to the front door, breath coming in shaky gulps. We both look and freeze. The doorknob is rattling, a faint metallic click, as though someone's gently testing it. No knock, no doorbell. Just a subtle jiggling, determined and unnerving. Instinct flares, and I place a finger to my lips, signaling Cheryl and Toby to keep quiet. Kelly's wide-eyed, hugging Mr. Sparkles. I motion for them to stay put, creeping toward the door. My heartbeat hammers. I peer through the peephole, expecting to see the older woman from the park. But the porch is empty. The doorknob rattles, again clearly moving on its own. A small gasp escapes me. My mind scrambles. Could it be the wind? There's no wind tonight. A trick of the house settling? No, that's deliberate movement. I twist the deadbolt, relocking it. For a moment, The rattling stops. Then the static hush returns, swirling near the threshold, like a radio hiss emanating from behind the door. A breathy voice, faint but unmistakable, calls out, "Toby, let me in." A surge of anger overtakes my fear. I slam my palm against the door. "Stay away from us." I scream, voice cracking. Another distant, rasping laugh floats through the wood. Then the rattling ceases, leaving behind suffocating silence. Slowly, I step back, knees weak. I catch Cheryl's haunted eyes from across the room. We both realize the same thing. Ignoring it isn't an option. Fighting it physically isn't feasible. We need a plan or we'll lose our sanity, and possibly our children. 3 a.m. My house is a fortress of lights, locked windows, and terrified adults. The kids keep drifting in and out of fretful sleep, their small bodies too drained to stay awake. Cheryl and I, however, haven't shut our eyes. Sitting on the living room floor with my laptop perched on the coffee table, I reread every forum entry about the murmur. One user wrote a snippet that catches my eye. I confronted her at the old house site. That was my only relief, looking her in the eyes and telling her to leave me alone. The old house site. Could that refer to the place that supposedly burned down in the legend? "Look here," I whisper, pointing at the screen for Cheryl. If the rumor is that a woman lost her family in a fire near Crescent Springs, maybe there's an actual location we can visit. Sometimes confronting these legends face to face stops them, at least according to these folks. She bites her lip. It sounds insane, but I'd do it if it means protecting Toby. A half-baked plan forms in my head. We can drive to the rumored site, see if it's real. If we find anything, foundation ruins, a marker, a grave, maybe we can, I don't know, break the link. Apologize. Demand she leave our kids alone. The sheer desperation of that logic makes my cheeks burn, but we're out of rational options. We rummage for more local references and piece together potential coordinates from old newspaper scans. There was indeed a house fire 30 years ago on the outskirts of Crescent Springs. A mother named Harriet Lawson perished alongside 3 of her children. The father was absent that night. Locals claimed Harriet's grief lingered, but it's all rumor. The property apparently remains vacant. By dawn, the kids are stirring. We explain to them we're going on a drive together. Both are unnervingly compliant, like they sense we're embarking on something big. I pack snacks, water, flashlights. Cheryl double-checks the locks, though I'm not sure what good that does if a voice can infiltrate electronics without power. We load into my SUV, Toby and Kelly in the back seat, seatbelts tightened. The sun's barely over the horizon as we navigate out of town. The roads become winding, flanked by overgrown fields and sparse trees. My hands clench the steering wheel, tension coiled in every muscle. After half an hour, we reach a dirt path that matches the old news article's descriptions, leading to a clearing near a stone marker for the Lawson family. The place is silent. Weeds and tall grass sway in a faint breeze. An abandoned farmhouse rots about 50 yards away, sagging roof and broken windows. Cheryl inhales shakily as we park on the side of the makeshift road. This has to be it. We step out. The kids cling to us, looking around with wide, wary eyes. The air feels heavy, charged, like the hush before a storm. I notice a blackened patch of earth behind the farmhouse, as though scorched by an old fire that never fully healed. Stay close, I tell the kids. Cheryl and I lead them toward the farmhouse's front porch, each step crunching dead grass. The boards creak underfoot, threatening collapse. We spot a metal sign hammered into the porch. Unsafe structure, no entry. It's half rusted, but we can read enough to confirm we're in the right place. Toby whimpers, "Don't like it here." Kelly nods fervently, face pale. I exchange a look with Cheryl. "Let's not drag them inside," I say quietly. "Let's look for any sign of Harriet or the children." We circle around the farmhouse's perimeter, scanning for a plaque or headstone. At the back, we discover a charred foundation where a smaller building once stood. Pieces of blackened timber poke out of the soil. The tension in my chest grows. That must be where the fire was worst, Cheryl murmurs. A sudden wave of static sweeps through the area. I feel it more than hear it. The air crackles and goosebumps prickle my arms. Kelly gasps, pressing close to me. Toby's lips tremble. Then faintly, like a whisper carried by the wind, we hear, "Why? Did you come here?" My eyes dart around. There's no one in sight. The kids shudder, hugging each other. Cheryl's face contorts in terror. "Stop it!" she shouts, voice echoing against the farmhouse. The static intensifies, swirling around us in an electric hush. The voice is clearer now, rasping with a strange sorrow. "They left me alone. I want them back." Kelly presses her hands over her ears, tears brimming. Toby lets out a wail. I grit my teeth, stepping forward. "Listen to me," I yell, unsure if I'm addressing Harriet Lawson or some intangible presence. "We know you lost your family. We're sorry for your pain, but these children aren't yours. You have to let them go." A guttural cry rings out, reverberating in my skull. The farmhouse windows rattle, dust sprinkling from the eaves. Cheryl staggers back, pulling Toby behind her. Kelly grips my hand so tight I feel my bones grind. "Stay strong," I whisper to Kelly, though my heart thrashes like a trapped animal. The static transforms into a howling wind, swirling leaves and debris around us. Through the chaos, the voice moans, "I will have what I lost." A surge of anger and empathy collides in me. "They're gone," I shout, tears hot in my eyes. "Your children are gone, Harriet. You can't steal ours to replace them." The wind dies abruptly, leaving a vacuum of silence so profound my ears ring. For a moment, everything stands still. Cheryl and Toby stare at me, breath held. Kelly's trembling at my side. Then, in the quiet, I sense movement behind the farmhouse. I turn my head and glimpse a shifting silhouette, a tall, thin figure in a long, tattered dress. Her hair is tangled, face partly obscured by shadows. My heart stalls. She's old and withered, eyes dark holes. She raises a hand, beckoning. My stomach lurches as I realize Kelly is stepping forward, compelled by some invisible force. I yank her back, nearly toppling us both. Cheryl gasps, "Toby!" Toby's stumbling toward the figure, tears streaming down his cheeks, as though entranced. She lunges for him, wrapping her arms around his waist, fighting to keep him away. The figure's mouth opens, a silent wail contorting her features. Then she flickers, like a glitchy video feed, and vanishes. Static echoes in my mind. Kelly sobs into my chest. Toby collapses to his knees, gasping. The wind rustles the scorched grass again, but more softly now. I realize my cheeks are wet. Cheryl is panting, tears in her eyes. For the first time, I feel a shift, like we've confronted something real, forced it into the open. "Get in the car," I tell the kids, my voice hoarse. "Now." They don't argue. We hurry back around the farmhouse, hearts hammering. The presence feels calmer, though the air still buzzes with residual energy. We pile into the SUV, slamming doors, locking them. My hands tremble as I start the engine and drive away, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror. The farmhouse quickly fades from sight, the silhouette nowhere to be seen. Cheryl's voice shakes. "Did we do anything? Is she gone?" I don't know. My head throbs, my chest tight. I told her she can't have our children. That might not be enough. But it felt like a confrontation we had to make. Naming her, acknowledging her story. Kelly's breath hitches in the back seat, Mommy, I'm scared. I reach a hand back, stroking her hair. Me too, sweetheart. But we'll figure this out. The road stretches ahead, and the sun climbs higher, as if mocking our ordeal with its bright normality. My mind reels with conflicting emotions. Relief that we survived. Fear that Harriet might still lurk in the static. We spend the next 2 days holed up in my house. The children refuse to sleep alone. Cheryl and Toby remain, effectively moving in. I've never felt so exhausted. It's as if we fought a supernatural storm at that farmhouse, only to return, with no guarantee of safety. Oddly, the static phenomena lessen. My dead phone stays dead, no ghostly app surfacing. Cheryl's phone remains switched off, but she tentatively powers it on once to check messages, and nothing strange occurs. Toby sleeps fitfully but no longer wakes up screaming about a voice. Kelly still clings to me like a lifeline, but she hasn't mentioned the lady in 2 nights. Part of me wants to declare victory. Maybe Harriet recognized that we know her story, and she's backed off. Maybe confronting that place was enough. But the tension in my body won't subside. I keep expecting the lights to flicker, or the baby monitor to reassemble from ashes. My eyes flick to the windows every time a branch taps the glass. On the 3rd day, Cheryl suggests we try returning to her home. I should see if everything's normal there, she says, though her voice wobbles. Maybe Toby can finally have a real nap in his own bed. I'm torn between fear of separation and the possibility that normalcy might be returning. Kelly's face is a mix of anxiety and hope. She wants her life back too. We debate it for a solid hour. In the end, we decide to attempt it. Cheryl and Toby will go home, and if anything strange happens, they'll come right back. We pile into 2 cars. I follow Cheryl's Toyota to her place, ready to keep watch. Toby, sleeping in his car seat, stays oblivious. Kelly chews her lip in my back seat, Mr. Sparkles in her lap. Once we reach Cheryl's small ranch-style house, we park at the curb. I scan the yard for any sign of movement. No mysterious figures, no static. Cheryl and Toby head inside, while Kelly and I wait in the car for a few minutes. Eventually, Cheryl reappears at the open front door, giving a tentative thumbs up. Exhale, tension easing. We decide to leave them be, promising to stay just a phone call away. On the drive home, Kelly gazes out the window, lost in thought. Finally, she whispers, "Mommy, do you think the lady went to sleep?" I glance at her in the rearview mirror. "I don't know, honey," I admit gently, "but I think she knows we won't let her hurt you." Kelly nods, shoulders relaxing, a little. We arrive home, and for the first time in weeks, the atmosphere feels lighter. I make mac and cheese again, comfort food at this point, and we settle in the living room with a movie. It's almost bedtime when my phone vibrates. My heart skips. I check the screen. A text from Cheryl reading only, "She's here." Blood drains from my face. I stand so fast I spill the popcorn. Kelly leaps to her feet, fear etching her eyes. "Mommy?" "It's okay," I lie. "I need to check on Cheryl. Stay close." We rush to the car, not even bothering to lock the house. My mind whirls with worst-case scenarios. Toby in danger, Harriet in the static. Pulling up to Cheryl's house, I see no lights except one faint lamp in the living room. Her door is ajar. My stomach clenches. "Wait here, Kelly," I say firmly. But she shakes her head, tears brimming. I don't have the heart to leave her alone. So we creep up the walkway together, stepping over a tricycle in the yard. Inside, the place is deathly quiet. "Cheryl?" I call softly, flicking on the hall light. No response. I inch forward, Kelly clinging to my hand. We find them in Toby's bedroom. Cheryl slumped on the floor, rocking Toby in her arms. He's awake, silent tears streaking his cheeks. Her phone lies on the rug, screen cracked. "What happened?" I whisper, kneeling beside them. Cheryl's breath is ragged. "She came through the TV," she mutters. "At least the static started on the screen." Toby was watching cartoons, and then her face appeared. He froze, and the voice said, "Come outside, Toby." The front door opened by itself. She shudders violently. I tried to slam it shut, but it wouldn't budge. So I grabbed Toby and ran here. I texted you, but the phone, it broke. My heart pounds. Kelly whimpers. "Is she gone?" Cheryl looks at me with hollow eyes. "I think so. But how do we know?" I wrap my arms around Cheryl and Toby, feeling the weight of their trembling. Kelly hugs my side. We remain like that for an eternity, hearts thrumming with terror. The hush that settles is thick, almost liquid. I force myself to speak. "We won't let her take our kids. We confronted her at the farmhouse, but maybe that wasn't enough." Cheryl lifts her tear-streaked face. "What else can we do?" My mind churns. If Harriet's presence got stronger when Toby tried to resume a normal life, maybe we need a final confrontation. Something that acknowledges her loss and firmly denies her claim. That means facing her again without letting fear dominate us. "Come back to my house," I say, swallowing hard. "We'll lock everything. We'll stay together one more night. Then, tomorrow, we do something big to sever this connection for good." She nods, too spent to argue. We gather Toby's bag. Kelly helps him find Mr. Sparkles. All of us shuffle to my SUV, the night air cold and silent. I sense Harriet's gaze in the shadows, but I can't see her. We drive away, hearts pounding, determined to end this once and for all. We regroup in my living room, the kids dozing on the couch, exhausted by non-stop terror. Cheryl and I linger at the table, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. Dawn is creeping in, pale light washing through the windows. In the quiet, Cheryl voices, what we've both been avoiding. We have to face her again. But how? We went to the farmhouse and she still came back. I lean forward, mind racing. We need something more direct. We can't just scold her from the yard. We need to show Harriet there's nothing left for her to claim. Maybe there's a grave or a memorial for her children. Cheryl frowns, exhaustion etched into her face. "You think we should talk to their gravestones?" I laugh bitterly, a hollow sound. I know how it sounds, but she's locked in grief, haunting the airwaves to find replacements. Maybe if we acknowledge her children's final resting place, it'll help her see they can't be replaced. An insane plan, but we have nothing else. We make quick research calls, scanning local cemetery records online. At last, we find a listing: 3 Lawson children buried in Sunset Grove Cemetery, about 10 miles from the farmhouse. Harriet's name isn't listed, possibly unmarked or never found after the fire. By mid-morning, we're on the road, kids in the back seat, half asleep. They're too tired to be fully terrified now. The cemetery is a sprawling place with worn headstones, twisted oaks lining the gravel paths. We park near an ancient mausoleum. Walking carefully along each row of headstones, we finally spot a weathered monument. In loving memory, David, Rosalie, and June Lawson. A small plaque notes the year they died, 30 years ago. No mention of Harriet. A wave of sadness washes over me, imagining a mother consumed by grief, overshadowed even in death. The wind rustles the oak branches overhead, the sky tinged gray. Cheryl sets a bouquet of store-bought flowers at the base of the headstone, trembling. What do we do now? I hold Kelly's hand, Toby clinging to Cheryl. My voice quivers as I step forward, addressing the silence. Harriet, if you can hear, Me, your children are here. They're gone from this world, and nothing can change that. My eyes sting with tears, heart pounding. I'm sorry for your loss, but Kelly and Toby aren't yours. You can't have them, Cheryl adds, voice shaking. I hope you find peace wherever you are, but leave our kids alone. They're not replacements. Go to your children, Harriet. Let them rest. We stand there, breath hitching, expecting the ground to shake or the sky to thunder. Instead, a profound stillness blankets the cemetery. The kids watch us, eyes wide. A few leaves blow across our feet. A hushed static creeps into the air, faint as a dying radio station. My stomach clenches. Are we about to be attacked right here, in front of her children's graves? I brace myself. Then the static fades, drifting off on the breeze. A soft sigh seems to ripple through the leaves, sad, gentle, almost resigned. For the first time, I sense no menace, just a lingering heartbreak dissipating into the morning light. Cheryl's face crumples in relief, tears streaming. Toby fidgets, uncertain, while Kelly sniffs and rubs her eyes. We stand there, a small circle of battered souls, letting the quiet wrap around us. After a time, we gather the children and head back to the car, every step feeling lighter. No voice follows. No phones buzz. The drive home is silent except for the hum of the engine. In the weeks that follow, the static never returns. Cheryl and Toby move back home. Kelly resumes sleeping in her own bed. I even buy another brand of baby monitor, just for my peace of mind. And so far, it's only relayed normal household noises. No rasping invitations, no mysterious texts. Yet the memory of that voice lingers, a permanent scar. Sometimes Kelly wakes from nightmares, but they're just regular childhood fears now. She sees the lady in her dreams, but the voice is distant, weakening. Toby's mother says he rarely mentions it either, except when asked. Late one night, I stand in Kelly's doorway, watching her sleep, monitor silent. My chest tightens with a swirl of relief and sorrow. Did we really banish Harriet's presence at the graves of her lost children? Or did she simply move on, leaving us behind? I glance at the baby monitor's small screen in my hand. Kelly's face is calm, her breathing steady. The light on the device glows a reassuring green. No hiss of static, no ominous whisper. I turn, to leave when the monitor crackles. Just once. A short, soft burst. My breath catches, adrenaline spiking. But then it's gone. Just a brief glitch. I listen for a long moment, heart hammering, but the feed remains clear. Wiping sweat from my brow, I click the monitor off and quietly back out of Kelly's room. I tell myself it was a random blip, an electrical hiccup. I want to believe Harriet found her peace, that she understands we refuse to give up our children. As I slip into my bedroom, though, a nagging doubt tugs at my mind. What if sorrow like hers never fully disappears? What if the static is simply lying dormant, waiting for someone else to tune in? I crawl into bed, staring at the ceiling, torn between relief and that lingering primal fear. Because I'll never forget the voice that crackled through an unplugged monitor, demanding my daughter's presence. And I'll never stop wondering if Harriet might, someday, whisper again from the shadows. But if she does, I'll be ready. Because a mother's fury, born of love, burns brighter than any ghostly static could ever hope to match.